Welcome back. It is Group Chat After Dark. Here we are. It's almost October, but this is September's episode.
No, it's not almost October. It is September 1st, 2020, Pandemic Edition.
You're right. I must have gotten knocked over the head. It's obviously September, or very early September when we're recording this. Definitely not very late in September.
Yes.
So, look, unless you wanted to get woken up by group chat going off all night, you should put it on Do Not Disturb because it's Group Chat After Dark.
Or just mute the conversation.
Yeah, you could mute it, but that's dumb. And if you use Do Not Disturb, you're a sissy. But, there's always those guys that keep the group chat going when you're trying to sleep. We're those guys.
Yes, we are. With your daily dose of ignorance.
Magum, how are you this fine day?
I'm good. It's cold. It's about 72 in Richmond, so it's cold for the weather.
Oh yes. It was 37 degrees when I woke up this morning, so you're in a heat wave compared to what we got going on here. It is currently 60.
Nice and brisk. Nice.
Yes, it is nice and brisk. I noticed that you're in a different area of your home today.
I am. This is my home office. My desk at my home office. My coffee machine is over there. Bathroom is behind me. It's about all the walking that I do.
I have pooed in that bathroom.
Yes, you have. Several times.
With the door open.
No.
As a matter of fact, on your wedding day, I think I pooed in that bathroom.
You may have. I
say that because I see a nice little wedding photo of you up on the top shelf there. Looks like it has replaced Captain Planet.
Yes, Captain Planet is currently in storage. He was removed and censored because no one cares about the environment anymore.
That's true. That is true. The environment is stupid. We should throw it out like Captain Planet.
Yes.
So I figured today, since it is we're coming up on the fall, on the holiday season, we could talk about the big news coming out of video games, and that is we're about to enter into the 9th generation of video game consoles.
Really? I did not realize it was that deep.
We are currently in the 8th generation, but as of November, we will be in the 9th generation.
So are you counting like Atari and ColecoVision?
I am not. The nerds are counting that because that is what I've researched on the internet, that we are closing out the 8th generation of home consoles.
I see.
I don't know who's keeping track of this stuff, but somebody is, and it gives content for the show.
Dragon Slayer 42. He's on top of it.
That is the Wikipedia editor, I'm sure.
That's actually my main source for today's conversation.
Oh, is it? Good, because Wikipedia is great because anybody in the world can write anything about any subject. So you're getting the best information possible.
And if you remember to call them, YouTube will come down and film you editing the Wikipedia page.
Hey, you answered my Michael Scott quote with a Michael Scott quote. Excellent. So figure, since we're Xbox guys, we would spend some time today talking about the Xbox Series X.
Well, first we have to establish that PlayStation is trash.
I will say I have owned PlayStations. I have not hated them. However, my group is always Xbox. So I have my PlayStations have always gotten much less play than my Xbox has. So yeah. I won't say it's trash, but I will say it's just that's not the camp I'm in because I'm a social gamer.
It's trash because Rockstar Games gives priority to PlayStation.
Well, but to counterpoint that, Rockstar Games gives priority to PlayStation because PlayStation is doing better than Xbox. So that's why they stand to make more money that way because more people are going to have PlayStations. So it's kind of a mutual beneficial agreement. PlayStation says, "Oh, if you make it exclusive to us at first, we'll sell more consoles, and that'll give you more of an audience."
So we created this trash online game, Red Dead Redemption 2 Online, for your trash console, PlayStation.
You're jumping ahead. We're not we're not
Trash.
there yet.
PlayStation is trash.
But yeah, I figured we would talk about Xbox today. And before we do that, let's go ahead and get the sponsors out of the way. If you'd like to go ahead and do the ad read.
So yeah, today's episode is sponsored by Bombas. Bombas is the premier leader in direct-to-consumer sock mailings in the world. They are the number one highest-selling product in the history of Shark Tank. They recently, we talked about this last time, but they recently surpassed Scrub Daddy as the top-selling product in Shark Tank history.
Which, to digress just for a second, I happened to be in Lowe's yesterday. No, yeah, yesterday, and I saw a Scrub Daddy for the first time ever on the shelf at Lowe's. I walked right by. I was like, "That's what Michael was talking about."
Scrub Daddy, yeah.
Anyway, now I know what it is.
Did you see Scrub Mommy?
I did not. I just saw the daddy.
Well, next time you're looking for your Scrub Daddy, you make sure you put on your Bombas before you go. Each time you order from Bombas, they give a free pair of socks to homeless shelters. And if you use the promo code GCHAD, GCHAD, that's promo code GCHAD. Click the microphone, enter the promo code GCHAD. You'll get 0% off your order.
Correct. Absolutely no discount if you use promo code GCHAD, which is not
It
even
might
the
say
initials for our website.
This
for
promo code
podcast.
is not available, but that means it's been applied to your cart.
Yeah, it's a secret promo code
Yes.
from a not something that doesn't actually sponsor our podcast.
Yes.
So it's totally and completely secret.
It's double secret.
Double secret. All right. So now that we got the ad read out of the way, let's
code
jump right
GCHAD.
in. Promo code GCHAD. Even though it's group chat after dark, there is no H in our initials, but whatever, it's cool. Hashtag GCAD.
The H
GCHAD.
is for happy.
Okay. So Michael, I'm told that you want to know about the Xbox Series X.
Well, I'm actually more interested in the Xbox Series S.
Okay. I do have notes on that. However, I focus mainly on the Series X because it is the flagship of the Xbox console.
It looks to be about the size of a subwoofer that you would use for your TV.
It is gigantic, and I will get to that because there's a very specific reason that it is very large. So initially, the first details we have now that this has finally come out in the last couple weeks or so, the new Xbox console will be available. Both the Series S and the Series X will be available November the 10th, and the Xbox Series X will cost you $499, and the Series S will cost you $299.
And a PlayStation was right in the middle, right? It's $399.
I think PlayStation was also $499, but I think they
Okay.
also have a smaller. And I apologize, I didn't do my due diligence on PlayStation.
I didn't either.
Yeah, but I think they're bigger, more beefy, because that seems to be the trend now. It used to be you would release your console, and then a couple years later you would release the slim version, and it would have a few improvements or whatever, because it was like, well, the parent companies were they want more money. And they're trying to entice people that haven't bought the giant console. They want to get the smaller, better version, because it's got I remember for the 360, it had built-in Wi-Fi and a built-in hard drive and things like that. So it was it's to entice you to buy the console or to upgrade the one that you already had. But now it seems like we're doing that. Okay.
Let's go back a little bit, because they just came out with whatever they call it, the Xbox One X.
Correct.
Like less than 2 years ago.
It was actually the Xbox One X. I'm glad you reminded me of this because I was going to cover that as well. It released November 7th of 2017, which was actually 4 years after the original. The Xbox One was released November 22nd of 2013. So 4 years after they release the Xbox One X, which was kind of the opposite of the trend of making the slimmer console. I guess it was slightly smaller, but touted as the most powerful
Yeah.
console ever because it could do 4K and it was like I forget how much more powerful than the original Xbox, which is why I personally got it. My Xbox would slow down and chug a lot just trying to navigate between menus and things.
And it has the
Um,
SSD in it, doesn't it?
yes, I well
I think
maybe
so. I think
I
so.
know it has a 1 terabyte hard drive, whereas the originals just had a 500 gig.
Yeah.
So it had a bigger hard drive and it could do more. They also ditched Connect
That's
because
right.
it was originally
R.I.P.
part of. It was built into. When you bought the first Xbox, it came with Connect. The
That's right. You
Xbox
had
One,
Connect, and
I
and we
did.
always used to yell at it like the guy from Breaking Bad would yell at it in the commercial.
Yes, Aaron
Jesse
Paul
would
would send it
Xbox on.
off. Yeah, he would turn things on and off. But yeah, so they ditched that and they made it. So it was the Xbox One X. I'm very happy with mine. It is powerful, and I will say it sounds like a jet engine about to take off when I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Um, that's the loudest game that I have as far as the console itself. The fan really gets going on that game.
I think that was one of the first ones that was like full 4K optimized for the One X.
It was definitely built for the.
Yeah.
I guess we call it a half generation,
Yeah.
because PlayStation followed suit and did a PlayStation 4 Pro, which would also do 4K, and so it was basically like this kind of half step in the generation. Um, so, and initially they kind of tricked me. I thought they're like, oh, we're gonna do this Xbox One X thing, and we're not necessarily gonna do new generations of consoles. It's just we're gonna kind of adapt that one. But
Yeah.
now here we are. So
Yeah. This was a surprise. I'm really surprised that they did the budget model at the same time.
yeah, I think it's. If I had to guess, it's a way to sell more consoles.
The
Um,
internet is saying that this may be the last iteration of Xbox that they build and release separate. It could just be a thing where you buy the big Xbox and they just keep optimizing stuff for it, and it's good to go. But
yeah, that was kind of what they talked about with the X, but who knows? I think ultimately there'll always be
probably,
console generations because you don't want to sell one piece of hardware. It's the same thing like it used to be a water heater would last 40 years. Well, if you're only selling a couple water heaters every 40 years, you're not making a whole lot of money on them. So now they're cheaper, and but they're also less reliable. It's the planned obsolescence
I saw
because
this
you
thing
always
on
want to sell
Reddit.
more.
Yeah, I saw this thing on Reddit. It was like one of those old flip phones from the before times, and it only processed years 2004 to 2014. So you couldn't use it after the year 2014 was over because
Yeah,
they had programmed the calendar not to go any further.
yeah. They don't want you. It's like it'd be a logic error and the thing would blow up because they don't want you keeping a phone that long. Especially now. That was you'd keep a phone longer back then. Now, whew, you get 2 or 3 years out of a phone and it's ancient. So yeah, we got to keep moving on. We got to keep selling stuff. So why not?
So I
So
guess you want to
this,
go into the specs now for the
yeah, I've got some
for the
specs
X.
here. I'm sure you've got them as well. The first time I ever heard the term teraflops was with the Xbox One X, and it was something that was a very strong selling point for a friend of ours. Um, well, the Xbox One X had 6 teraflops of graphics processing power. The Xbox Series X has 12 teraflops, so double the teraflops, whatever the hell those are. Uh, does that impress you?
It does. It does. It's a lot of teraflops for one machine.
It is it's a lot of teraflops. Again, I mean it's a big box, so that's you're getting your teraflops money's worth out of that. Um, it is also 4 times the processing power of an Xbox One, and that's a direct quote from Microsoft, which I thought was interesting. 4 times the power of an Xbox One, not an Xbox One X.
Uh,
I didn't
Interesting.
find any direct comparisons there, but I noticed that on Microsoft's website, a lot of them, I took a lot of direct quotes from their kind of press release of it. A lot of it was compared to an Xbox One, which was slightly underpowered for what they needed it to be, and had some processing issues. Hence the more powerful the One X. So I just thought that was interesting that they're comparing it to that one, not the One X or the One S.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, the predecessor is actually the Xbox One. So
Yeah, yeah, and that's the kind of like say that kind of weird half step that we took in this generation of the beefier versions of the console, even though they're the same, the same platform. You just get some bonus features basically. The Series X also has a solid state hard drive, which is pretty cool. Solid state drives are a lot faster to load, so supposedly they're going to the loading screens. I keep seeing in all the nerds talking on the internet that loading screens are going to be a quote thing of the past because everything's going solid state, so you're not going to have the loading time. I think that's probably not true.
right,
It
because
will
the
be
games
much
are going to
faster.
get they're going to get bigger and more.
Exactly. Yeah, the games are going to step up too, and so they're going to be more data to load,
No, I
and
did.
at some point we'll kind of outperform
Right,
the speed of the solid state drive. But
and I did see that they are going to still include expandable storage.
yes, which is good because that was my next point. It's got a 1 terabyte hard drive in it, which is the exact same size as the Xbox One X. Now, I'm not certain, but I saw a couple things about what the game sizes are going to be. Well, I don't know about you, but I've had to expand the storage on my Xbox with just a few games. And I don't play a lot of games, but every now
Yeah,
and then I have to delete something.
yeah, I have a terabyte hard drive that's plugged into mine right now.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm thinking that it's probably a external drive for even the One X
I
is
think
going
that
to. I'm sorry, the Series X is going to be a requirement.
I had heard that they're going back to like the old school memory cards.
Kind
Um,
of. I mean, yeah. You think like that's basically what it is. PlayStation had a memory card, and it was like 15 blocks of memory, which is nothing. But it didn't have onboard storage. Now it does, but it's just enough to get you by for a few games. Because the biggest problem is the updates.
yeah.
The updates and the expansions to the game. Like I
Well,
can't
and
remember.
now what they're and we'll probably talk about this, but what they're trying to do with Game Pass is going to be a big issue where you have 6 or 7 games installed on your Xbox at one time.
Yeah, yeah. Because I only like I say we have the Game Pass and we don't play a ton of games, but yeah, every now and then I got to clear something off because I just don't have enough space. Um, so it'll be interesting, but I think I think hard drives and hard drive companies are loving it. Manufacturers are like, oh, another market to sell these things. Because I've seen Xbox branded uh, hard drives, game specific hard drives for consoles. Um, that so it's just another avenue for them. Um, Also, the One X or I'm sorry, I keep calling it the One X. It's the Series X. Series X will support 8K, Michael.
What is 8K?
8K is double 4K, which is already more than anybody needs.
Well,
But
can't the human eye can't perceive anything more than full HD, right? So
well,
what's the point?
here's the thing with that. I did not understand because when 4K became a thing, people were like, "Oh, the human eye can't register 4K." That's technically true, but basically what it means is, and I didn't understand this until I saw it. I was out on a shoot, and it was one of the first 4K cameras I was working with, and I was outside, and I had this big like kind of landscape shot, and I noticed in the viewfinder of the camera, I could see details in the mountains that were way far off that my eye could not see standing there
Uh,
beside the camera.
so you
That
can't
so it's
see it in
basically
natural life.
it's better. Yeah, it's better than your eyes can see. But yeah, it's not that if you look at a 4K monitor, you can't see it. It's
That's
basically
what I
just
thought
saying
it
that
was.
it's higher resolution than your eyes are when it's captured. So you're gonna see more detail.
Got
Now,
it.
4K, and not to go off on a tangent, but 4K is already more than we need. So 8K, but people just like to because there's already 12K. They're one of my favorite camera manufacturers is getting ready to release a 12K camera. we're not there. So
How big is a file coming off a 12K camera?
absolutely massive. And that's another thing is people's computers literally start to melt when they try to edit 8K and 12K video because they don't have the processing power. Anyway, to get off the camera nerd soapbox, but yeah, we're gonna have 8K for this. I don't think, and that is another difference between the Series X and the Series S. Um, the Series S is not. It's 1440, which is I believe 4K ish, but
Oh
not
yeah, I think
quite,
it's almost, yeah.
because it's basically saying you don't need a 4K television. The Series S is kind of marketed as the more economical way to get into the next generation, and some players prefer uh, performance over resolution.
Hmm.
They don't have 4K monitors, so they don't need 4K output. They'd rather the game perform better. So that's kind of the give and take of the two versions.
Yeah, that was what I preferred about it, to be honest. And the fact that it
Mhm.
didn't have a disk drive, which is
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
first things to kill an Xbox usually.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, as we've mentioned, the footprint of the Series X is massive. People are calling it a trash can and things like that. It's very boxy. But apparently that is one of the big selling features of the footprint of this thing is it gives more room to dissipate the hot air. Um, and it's got this powerful quote but quiet fan that will, so you got more space in there, and it got a better, more efficient fan to dissipate the heat. So supposedly the bigger footprint on this guy is to really help with optimization and
And I
with
suppose you could
heat
put it
issues.
like on the floor rather than
You
having to
could,
put it up next to your TV or
yeah.
whatever.
It does say that it is designed, quote from Microsoft, it is designed to support both vertical and horizontal orientation. So you can stand it up and you can lay it down. So, but yeah, I thought that was interesting that because, as soon as I read that about the fan, I thought, good Lord, that, like I mentioned with Red Dead 2 running at full speed, clicking along, this thing sounds like it's going to explode.
Yeah, they have
And
it.
it's the powerful one.
The
So,
Wikipedia entry has it at 9.8 pounds.
wow,
For
okay.
for our Canadian friends, that's 4.4 kilograms.
Oh, well, that's very nice because, now that we are international, we have listeners across the sea. Um, that's very thoughtful of you to include the different measurements. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
thanks. Thanks. The Series S will only weigh 4.25 pounds, so it's roughly half the size.
How many kilograms is that?
1.93.
Oh, well, look at you, smarty pants.
Yeah,
Um,
Wikipedia. It's always true.
it has to be true if it's on Wikipedia. They can't put anything on Wikipedia that's not true. Um, so
I
now
saw.
we've
You
kind
know
of.
what I
Oh,
saw
go
on
ahead.
Wikipedia once? That Todd Scott's favorite show is Impractical Jokers. It was on the official Wikipedia page for Impractical
I am
Jokers.
actually the moderator for the official Todd Wikipedia page, and I put that on there. It is not true. I don't mean to defraud his official Wikipedia page, but I put that on there as a Raz.
How could you?
I'm terrible. I'm a terrible person. Um, Now that you've gotten your obligatory shot at him in, let's talk about the controller. Did you look at the controller?
I did. Supposedly it's newly redesigned, but it looks very similar. I guess they're going back to the old school original Xbox D-pad where it's actually a circle.
Well, I did do some sort of a deeper dive on the controller. It is redesigned, but of course it is very similar because apparently, I don't know, I guess it depends on who you are, but people really like the Xbox controller. I think people also really like the PlayStation controller, but a lot of the kind of like third party knockoff controllers that you can get for like your computer and things like that, a lot of times I do see them modeled after, they look very similar to an Xbox, like that layout. So I think people, it seems to be, because apparently it's also the Xbox One controller currently is also a really, it sells a lot for PC players that want game pads, because since it's Microsoft, it's also compatible with PCs.
Right.
So it's kind of the preferred pad for PC players that want to use a gamepad. So that's good. So it makes sense that it's redesigned, but it's not like reimagined because you don't want to. If you know if it ain't broke, don't fix it. People like it, so
Yeah, and I think it's been relatively the same since the 360. Um,
pretty much, yeah.
so yeah,
It's. I mean, if you look back, I don't think you were an original Xbox guy.
I did have the original Xbox
Okay, yeah.
actually. Yeah,
So there was that giant
it was
beefy
really
controller.
fat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was just too big. Which for me, as a man with big hands, I didn't mind it. It wasn't, but a lot of people had issues with it. Then they redesigned it to the Xbox controller S. Weird. It's like they keep coming up with the same stuff, and pretty much they've kept the layout the same since then. Obviously, there's been a little, but that original the S controller, it the 360 controller was just a slight improvement on that. The Xbox One was a slight improvement on the 360. So, um, one of the biggest things I noticed, and one of the things I found on their website was they are trying to accommodate smaller hands because apparently people with smaller hands are complaining that they like it, but it's not very ergonomical for them. Excuse me,
interesting.
ergonomical. Um, they said they rounded around the triggers and the bumpers to help accommodate smaller hands, I guess, so
I,
it's not such a reach.
I hope they do fix. So I've broken two controllers now on the bumpers because it's one piece of plastic, and
That's
so I
also
guess
because you ran your vacuum over it.
I did not do that. That never happened. That broke my headset, not my controller.
Oh,
But
sorry,
the controller broke on the bumpers.
Okay.
So I hope they fix that problem and make it a little bit more springier so it's more tactile. Because the current gen bumpers are like you just barely tap them and
Yeah, they
they
don't have
work.
much play. Like you push and it kind of clicks, so you know you've pushed it, but it doesn't like a trigger. You know, you can really feel it, and you can
Yeah,
pull it a little bit. With a bumper, it's kind of all or nothing.
yeah.
Um,
That's my hope because that's the weak spot in the last two
yeah.
Xbox controllers I've had.
Well, I didn't see anything about changing and I didn't read the entire thing. I just kind of looked for the highlights of the new parts of the redesign, and it was more rounded there for smaller hands. And then obviously, if you look at any pictures of it, there's a new button right in the middle of it.
I saw that. They call it the capture button.
It's the share button.
That's right.
So now instead of two boxes and three lines,
Which they
right
kept.
there, right, they did keep that. There's no more start and select, which makes it very confusing when you're trying to explain to somebody over Xbox Live. You say push select. I don't have select. Well, push two boxes. Um, anyway, this the share button, and it's apparently, let's see, they said it is it allows you to capture screenshots and clips more quickly. So instead of having to go through the Xbox guide to do it, you hit the button, and I guess then you choose screenshot or video, or maybe there's a
I
default.
think it. Yeah, I think it defaults
Yeah.
probably to
Now
video.
the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 both have had the share button. Now the PlayStation 4 has had the share button. The PlayStation 5 will have it as well. So that's interesting that, it's something that they're like, okay, that worked pretty well. And I think it's also kind of a sign of the times. Sharing screenshots and clips, it's not just for streamers anymore. People make memes and stuff out of their
Yeah.
video game moments all the time now. So I think that's something they're kind of leaning into. Is oh, we need to make this easier. It's pretty easy now, but we can make it easier. So that's the biggest, and the D-pad, of course, like you mentioned, it does look it's a little more. It's kind of like a dish. It looked like
Yeah.
it's raised up so your thumb can kind of just hang out there until you need it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, do we want to talk about Game Pass next? And kind of, I did look up a list of exclusives that they're going to launch with.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
Especially
I think,
because, as we mentioned before, there's some exclusive news regarding Game Pass today.
yeah. So we've had Game Pass for what 3-4 months now.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much since pandemic hit, we decided we were bringing Xbox Night back, and that's when we jumped on Game Pass.
And so far, I think we've enjoyed it. From a group standpoint, it's got a lot of games on there. A lot of them are trash. Uh, so step your game up if you're going on Game Pass. But it's been a good way to experience games. The only drawback I think is that once they take it off Game Pass, you can't play it anymore.
That is something that, and I that was the first note I've got here is because they're really touting Game Pass for this new generation with over 100 games, and then in parentheses I put that switch in and out,
Yeah.
because unless it's a Microsoft Studios owned game, there's a pretty good chance that it's just going to disappear. And they might not necessarily tell you that until like a couple days before it's gone.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Todd and I with NBA 2K20. We were both kind of in the middle of seasons with our my career players, and then all of a sudden 2K20 is gone.
Yeah. Che got cut.
Che got cut, and so that is one drawback, I think. And I'll agree. I've enjoyed the Game Pass experience. I do think it is probably a better experience to play games by yourself.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot of multiplayer games that we've really kept up with. Every now and then, but that's kind of what we've always been looking for, is more games to play together. And I've downloaded a lot of games that I play on my own, and even if they do have multiplayer, I'm like, I know this is not going to be a group hit, so I'm not going to suggest it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it looks like they got a Halo. If you're into Halo, we never really did too much Halo after, or I never did too much Halo after Xbox, the original.
Yeah, that was us too. We played it a lot on the original, but after that, no.
It looks like they're bringing Fable back. I never did play Fable.
I did. I actually was replaying some Fable recently because it was on Game Pass. I was like, oh, so I really enjoyed those games. So I'm excited to see the new one.
It's coming back. State of Decay 3 is on here. Another Forza. This is Forza Motorsport, which is different than Forza Horizon.
It is, and I actually learned that today. I thought they were just basically under the same umbrella, but they're actually even designed by different publishers or different designers.
I didn't know that. Huh.
So I wrote down the list of the what are the Xbox Game Studios.
Yeah.
A lot of them I had kind of heard of. Some of them I knew pretty well, but I'll run through those real quick. And there's a couple I'll list that they're kind of their franchise that they're known for. We have 343 Industries, which does Halo. World's Edge, which does Age of Empires, which is coming back. The Coalition
Boring.
does. Come on, it's not so bad.
Boring.
The Coalition does the Gears of War series. Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Xbox Game Studios Publishing, which is kind of weird to have. This is an Xbox Game Studio, and it's Xbox Game Studios as a publisher, but that's what they publish Microsoft Flight Simulator. So it's a little confusing there, but that's something I'm really excited about.
Me too, yeah.
The Xbox version, I really want to play that. And I don't want to buy it now, like for PC, because if it's coming to Game Pass, I'll get it for a lot less. But anyway, to continue on, we've got The Initiative, In Exile Entertainment, which is Wasteland and the Bard's Tale series. I've never played those, but they get a lot of
The Bard's
press.
Tale is on Game Pass now if you want to play it.
Yeah, and the Wasteland series is on there too. I've looked into it. Doesn't seem like it's for me, but Mojang Studios, which is Minecraft. Ninja Theory, they did Disney Infinity, which I know about because my nephews, they love it. It's one of those with the little figurines that you buy, and that unlocks them in the game. My nephews were huge into that. I don't think it's a thing anymore, but they did that, and Devil May Cry, which is apparently a huge thing amongst the nerds. Obsidian, which their big thing is Grounded. That's getting a lot of attention. I don't know.
We have tried to play the demo of that.
We have played it. We've just not been able to play it together. So it has potential, I think. Playground Games, which is Forza Horizon, not Forza Motorsport. And they're also Playground Games is also, they're the ones that are developing the new Fable game.
Okay.
Which is, people are very curious because they are kind of known for racing games and more simulation style stuff, racing than like an RPG
story. Yeah.
Rare, which that's the big one that a lot of people know. That it's like Banjo-Kazooie and Battletoads, Conquer, the Conquer series of games, Perfect Dark, and Sea of Thieves, which we have enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Turn 10, which is Forza Motorsport. So those are a lot more simulation style than the Forza Horizon,
Mm-hmm.
and then Undead Labs, and they are the State of Decay. That they've done those series of games. So that's 15 game studios, and as we talked earlier, they just announced today that Microsoft has acquired the parent company of Bethesda,
Mm-hmm.
which does. There's a lot of games there, like Elder Scrolls and
Fallout.
Fallout, and they've got tons of properties that are going to be coming to Game Pass. Because that's another thing about these is going forward with the new generation. When a game comes out that is a Microsoft Game Studios release, you have access to it on release day on a Game Pass. So you don't have to go out and buy it. If you've got Game Pass, you can play it the day it comes out. You just have
Nice.
to download it, but so anyway, that's pretty cool. And something else I noted about Game Pass was if you go the Ultimate route, Game Pass Ultimate, you get the PC games, which is cool. But apparently they also, and I don't know if this is coming to the console version, but you also get DLC, like expansion stuff with the
Oh,
PC with the Ultimate version. So that's pretty cool because I
yeah.
have noticed that they usually do try to sell me stuff on like Forza Horizon that we've been playing is always trying to get me to buy the expansion content.
Yeah.
So
That's
but anyway,
interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I just learned that this morning reading about it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Maybe they'll do something like that with the console version. But because I think, especially right now, this is something I read, and I don't know if you heard about it, but with the new Halo game that's going to be coming out, which was kind of their big flagship title for the new console, it got delayed because it wasn't ready, and they were kind of rushing it a little bit, and they felt like, okay, we'd rather not. Basically, they showed a demo of it at like an Xbox game showcase, and it got a lot of kind of flack. It got a lot of negative press because they didn't say it. Everybody basically said it didn't look like a new generation game.
They've
And
said that about a lot of games.
yeah. Well, people, expectations are really high, but they actually decided to take a step back. They're not going to release it at launch. They're going to work on it more, and they want to deliver a quality product. So they don't really have this big launch title, that they were planning on. So I think Game Pass has now become kind of the here's what you get with Xbox One or Xbox Series X
Okay.
and S, because basically I think they want to kind of blend the lines between console gamers and PC gamers, because
Mm-hmm.
there's always been a solid division there,
Yeah.
and apparently the two do not get along. uh, PC gamers will tell you that console gamers are not real gamers. Um, so I think that's the another reason for how big and beefy this console is because it's basically a gaming
A computer.
PC
Yeah.
without the operating system on it. Obviously, it has an operating system, but it's not. You're not going to do anything else on this. Whereas with the Xbox One, they wanted it kind of as an entertainment centerpiece because you could watch TV through it.
That's a
and,
really interesting point. I had forgotten about that. They were
Yeah,
marketing it initially
that's
as
why
like,
it was called the Xbox One. It was an
ah,
all-in-one. It was an entertainment console. It wasn't just for games. Obviously,
they
I
dumped
guess
that over the
yeah.
years.
I don't think the sales were what they wanted, and because with as we talked about with the Xbox One X, a lot of those features were kind of nixed. You could still do your cable box. You could still watch TV through it and stuff like that, but you used to be able to. I used to do this a lot. I would snap like live TV and play a game. Well, they got rid of that because it's like, okay, nobody was using it, nobody liked it, it didn't work
Yeah.
the way we wanted. So anyway, this one is supposed to be a much more PC style console.
Okay.
And that's another reason to go with the Game Pass, because if you buy a game on Game Pass, or if you have a game on, or if you're a Game Pass Ultimate member, you can play the game on Xbox or PC. So
Both
anyway.
both. So you could play it. Is it the same game? Like if you get
Yeah,
State of Decay on your. Okay, that makes sense. Interesting.
yeah. And I believe they're even like kind of handoff, like so it's not you're starting a new.
Oh wow.
I believe that's the case.
Do you think they will sell a fourth version of GTA 5?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're gonna milk that thing for as much as they can.
The game is almost 10 years old.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, they'll milk that thing. So anyway, but yeah, that's what I had on Game Pass. Did you have anything you want to add on that?
No, it seems really cool. I like that you don't have to buy discs anymore. I've never been a big disc person anyway. I always end up losing them or scratching them or whatever. So yeah, it'd be nice to be able just to download games. But yeah, it looks like an interesting model.
Hmm.
I'd be willing to pay, $10 a month rather than $120 a year uh,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
two games that I like. It's usually like Madden and like whatever Rockstar puts out for me. So I'll probably get a lot more games to try out this way.
exactly. And that's what I've liked about it too. Is there's games on Game Pass that I've always wanted to try, but just I'm like I don't want to spend money on it if I'm not going to like it. And it's a much easier, it's $10 a month, yeah, $120 a year. Well, that's two games. If I buy two games throughout the year, I've spent $120. If I go to the store and buy a new game, so it's a much more economical choice for me as somebody that doesn't play a ton of games, but I would play more if they weren't so expensive. So
I
I
agree.
really like
Yeah.
Game Pass. Um,
Um, yeah, so that's kind of their main thing. But I guess thinking about everything kind of headed towards the end of the show, what are you most excited about with the next console?
Well, something I want to throw in there that, and I don't know if I'm excited about it, but I think it's a really cool. I'm interested to see how this works. Is called Smart Delivery. Have you heard about that?
I haven't. You have to describe it.
Okay, so Smart Delivery is basically it's a little confusing, I think, because basically with the Series X, they're saying you don't necessarily have to jump in and buy the new console right away because you're still going to be able to play these games on Xbox One and all its iterations. They're still going to
Okay.
make those. Uh, but with this smart delivery, so let's say you hold out for a price drop on the Series X and you buy like Cyberpunk is a game that a lot of people are they're jacked for. So you buy Cyberpunk when it comes out and you buy it for your Xbox One because that's what you've still got. Well, when you buy the Xbox Series X or Series S, you will automatically have the better version of that game. So it'll and the quote that they've got here is the gamers can have confidence when they purchase games that your investments and progression move forward with you to the next generation. So you buy an Xbox One version that gives you access to it to the Xbox Series X version without having to pay twice.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
awesome.
basically I think their quote was I didn't write that one down, but it's basically you have the best version of the game for whatever console you're playing on.
Excellent.
So that's pretty cool. And I'm like I
Yeah.
say interested because it's not it's kind of like saying you don't have to run out and buy this right now. And if you do, the investment's mainly going to be in the hardware. If you want to save your money up for a while, but you want to keep buying these new games, when you do upgrade, you've got the best version. You don't have to buy that game again.
Yeah, I remember now because that was a big gripe I had with. I think we were playing GTA at the time of the new Xbox being launched,
Hmm.
and you had to buy the new game, and it didn't. Nothing carried over, or maybe it did. I don't remember.
It
Um,
did. The online progress carried over. I don't think
yeah,
your single player, your game saves did, but
yeah. So you had to buy a whole new game plus the console, and that was a bit of a pain. So that's
yeah.
nice that they've alleviated that this time.
Yeah, and as I say, I think that's something I wouldn't say I'm necessarily excited about, but I'm interested to see how that's going to play out and see if that helps or hurts sales. Because it definitely seems like they're not necessarily forcing you to buy the new console day one.
Hmm.
You're going to keep, and they usually do release different versions, similar versions of the games for a while afterward until they let the previous generation kind of die off. Um,
That will be good too because usually there's bugs at the
oh yeah,
beginning of
yeah,
a launch. So that will
absolutely,
be nice not to have to buy it to
yeah,
be, you know, forced to play it on the new
exactly,
system. So yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So yeah, I'm really interested to see how that plays out. What about you? What is your what gets your
I think just the
wiener
move
hard?
towards the move towards digital is probably the best thing for me. So that you're not because it used to be you'd have to make sure your GameStop or whatever store you were buying it from had it in stock.
Hmm.
Go buy the disc and then install it from the disc, which also took X amount of
Yeah.
hours to install it. And so it's nice to be able to, especially with the always on thing.
Hmm.
You can just say, "Hey, I want this game. I'm gonna pre-download it." Then when they release it, it's there, and then you boot your machine up and you start playing.
Yeah, that's I was gonna point that out because that was how hyped we were for Red Dead 2. I I bought it digitally and had it pre-installed so that at midnight the day it came out I could play it
Yep.
just right away. I didn't have to go out and buy it and then come back and install it for 45 minutes and then play it.
I
So
did the
that
same
was
thing. Yeah.
yeah, that was I really like I do you know I know Todd was big on having the physical copy because it's like it's a physical like the affinity he has for the game. It's like it's kind of like a trophy type thing, and
Yeah.
I understand that too. But I went with digital for that one because I knew I was never going to sell it. I was always going to play that game. So I'm like, there's no I don't need to go out and get it. Plus, I get that advantage of having it the second it's available.
Yep.
Because I knew I was going to play it at midnight the night it came out. So yeah, I agree. I think that's cool. I'm probably myself going to go with the big boy just because I'm a nerd. But we'll see. I'm definitely not going to go spend $500 on it on day one. I'm going to
Yeah.
definitely probably I want to wait and see how things kind of play out, and wait to see if there's a price drop on it, or a big sale or something. I don't want to. I'm past the point in my life where I can really justify spending $500 on a game console.
Right.
So
I agree, but I like the idea that uh, the S is going to be. It's not like subpar to the other one. It's just a different style.
yeah,
So it's it's more performance oriented, like you said. It's smaller. It doesn't
yeah.
have a
That's
disk drive.
the notes
So
I've got on it. It's quote the smallest Xbox ever.
yeah,
All digital, no disk drive. It says it's also 4 times the processing power of an Xbox One. Again, not an Xbox One X, an Xbox One. 1440 at 60 frames per second, and it says with support for up to 120 frames per second, which I guess that means if the game supports that high of a frame rate,
yeah, I think
it,
so.
it will. Because that's one of the for the Series X, it says 120 frames per second at 8K, which I don't think they'll probably be able to do both. It'll be one or the other. You can get 8K at probably 60 frames, but not 120, or you can get 4K at 120 frames. Anyway, and the Series S does have a smaller hard drive though. It is a
It does.
512 gig hard drive,
Yeah, I
but it's
don't
still a
mind
solid
the
state drive.
yeah, I don't mind the expansion either. So that doesn't really bother
Yeah.
me as much.
And plus, I feel like you've got a hard drive for your Xbox now. And it's gonna be fast enough. It's not like they haven't come up with USB 4 or anything like that. So
Right.
you'll probably be able to use that for the new console. So that's already another
Yeah.
thing you don't have to buy.
Exactly.
But basically, yeah, the S is just a stripped down version of the Series X. It's more affordable. Same CPU, but just a less powerful GPU. So you don't have to. You're not going to get the 4K or the 8K. Super high frame rates. But
Which is fine because I don't have a 4K display anyway.
right,
So
and I think that's their goal. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think because both PlayStation and Xbox are doing the big boy version and then the smaller digital stripped down version. And I think it's probably just it's a tactic to
hit the widest audience.
yeah, get the widest audience because it's never before do I remember them releasing multiple versions day one. But it's if you release 2 consoles, well, you're kind of splitting the market. But you release a cheaper one, well, more people are going to buy the cheaper one, and your really dedicated people are going to buy the bigger. So you're probably doubling what you would buy or the buys you would get day one.
Yeah, and you probably get more with the cheaper console.
Probably.
You get more day one buys. I would
Yeah,
imagine.
exactly. Because
Interesting.
I remember thinking, I think it was the Dreamcast. The Sega Dreamcast was $200, and I could not believe that Sega had the audacity to charge $200 for a console. I was floored when I saw it. It was like
I
one of
remember
those
that.
Christmas catalogs, and I saw it and I was like, $199? for a
When their
game.
games were more expensive too.
I was floored, and I couldn't believe it. And now I'm like, man, $290 or $199. I'd love to pay that for these things now.
Right.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
that $500 that's a lot of money, man.
I mean, you're
So
basically buying a new laptop every time you buy one.
yeah. Now, luckily, hopefully you'll get longer life out of you'll get because what did we say the Xbox One came out in 2013,
Hmm.
so 7 years. That's pretty good. Uh, you get a little bit more out of that, but yeah, then you got to buy the games, and they're not getting any cheaper because I believe it's NBA 2K21 that's already $70, and as opposed to the 60, which has been standard for quite a while.
Yeah,
So
which is interesting. It will be interesting to see, but I think it's a step in the right direction. I'm pretty excited for it.
I think that they're getting a lot of backlash from that $70 price point though, especially considering people are saying
For
the
that
game is not
games,
different
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
It's a yearly game anyway, so to spend $10 more on a game that there's just going to be a new one next year. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
we'll
We'll
see.
see. Like you said, I think I tend to buy those games off cycle because they're the
Yeah,
same for like 3-4 years, and then they
yeah,
change it.
I do. Yeah, probably every 5 years I buy an NBA, and that's
Yeah,
like I just since I got hooked on it on Game Pass, I picked up the NBA 2K20 for $18 at Walmart because I'm a cheap shopper now. Um, I'll play that for a few years because I, I don't need an
there's no
already
difference. They
already
found
2K21. They're saying there's just the shot the aiming of the shot or whatever is different. That's the only change from last year.
in Madden 21,
I saw
they
that.
they found the Madden 20 graphic in it.
Yeah,
So it's like, you know, obviously they didn't even change to go to the
yeah,
point to change the graphic.
right.
So
Yeah, if you're gonna just put a different shade of lipstick on the pig, you at least got to wipe off the old lipstick. Somebody's gonna see it underneath and be like, "Wait a minute, that's the same pig I saw last night."
I'm excited for the new Xbox. I think it will be a lot of fun, and
Yeah,
hopefully they've done a good job with the last couple in terms of reliability and just the features and things they've brought out. So I'm excited.
yeah. I think it'll be interesting because they seem to kind of go back and forth every other console generation. The PlayStation 2 was the big winner when it was PlayStation 2 versus Xbox.
Hmm.
And then the Xbox 360 versus the PlayStation 3, the Xbox, just beat its dick in the dirt. And now we're back to PlayStation being the better seller, the more popular platform. So it'll be interesting, and they're both coming out right about the same time, similar price points, similar, platforms that they're releasing, the similar consoles. So it'll be interesting. That everything I've seen says that the Series X is more powerful than the
Yeah,
PS5,
I
but
agree.
I think that ultimately it comes down to games,
Yeah,
and I think PlayStation has a better.
I
Uh,
haven't seen a marquee game for the new Xbox
no,
yet.
PlayStation has still exclusive games that you can only play on those at least for a while. A lot of them are becoming timed exclusives, but uh, yeah, I think that's ultimately what sells is okay. I want to play. These are the games I like to play, and if I can only play them on one platform, well, then that's the platform I'm going to get.
Hmm.
So I think that'll ultimately be the. Now another thing, one more thing to throw into that mix is the backwards compatibility.
That's right. I forgot
Um,
about that.
yeah, I took some notes on it just because, and again, I did not do my due diligence on PlayStation, but apparently they're not as gung ho about backwards compatibility as Xbox is,
No, they're not.
because they're saying on Microsoft's website it's saying quote compatibility across 4 generations of Xbox, so that's every console they've ever released, and they're saying from day one
Hmm.
because I know it used to be they would add backward compatible games in kind
Yeah,
of
because they had to
chunks.
fine tune it and make it work.
Yeah, they
But
would, and then I'm sure there was licensing and things involved and all kinds of red tape there. But they would every so often it'd be like, here's another 25 games added to backwards compatibility.
right,
This is saying from day one that you're going to have quote thousands of games available, and that's
interesting.
that includes the Game Pass stuff and from backwards compatibility. So I think that's from a pure game standpoint, that's kind of their selling point right now is okay, sure, you can go get the PlayStation 5 and it's going to have some exclusive games, but it's not going to have that many games available at launch.
Hmm.
With backwards compatibility and Game Pass on the Xbox, you've got thousands of games to
You
choose
could
from
play,
right away.
yeah, you could play as much as
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they're going with the whole, you don't have to pay twice, because it says another thing I took, it said no need to purchase games you already own again. So
Hmm.
I suppose that's physical copies and probably digital copies too. If it's all compatible, you can just download stuff to your new system.
Yeah.
But it also said that these games are going to run natively on the Xbox Series X hardware, so there's not like it's not an emulator inside the.
Oh,
It's not
interesting.
there's not an Xbox emulator and an Xbox 360 emulator built into the hardware. It's going to run native on the Xbox One or the Xbox Series X hardware. So supposedly that means they're going to perform better, they're going to look better. They always say they're going to look better. I mean, they you can't. Things might
I
look a
can't
little
tell.
smoother. They
Yeah.
might run a little faster, but they're not going to look. It's not like all of a sudden it's going to look. Every game's going to look like Red Dead 2. That's
Right.
not what's going to happen. But yeah, it supposedly that since it's going to have more power underneath it, it will perform better than it ever could have on the hardware it was designed for. So
Okay.
that might be worth
Okay.
checking out just to see
Maybe
how
so.
some of the old games look. But
I've never been one to play the old games on the
I,
new systems.
I do every now and then. Like I say, I've been playing Fable again just because it's on Game Pass, and I'm like, why not? I'll play those. I like to every now and then, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know because especially right now with all the remasters that are,
Mhm.
they're coming out with the HD versions of old games because they're like, well, nostalgia's big. We can sell this game again. We can just put a little more
Yeah,
time
who's
into it.
printing money? Right.
Yeah, so we can sell them that game again. So anyway, like we talked about, we would all buy a new version of Red Dead Redemption, the original. If it was like a 4K version, we'd buy that.
Hmm.
I would
Yeah,
do it.
absolutely.
I'd do it just to see because they would add a little something here and there. But I love that game, so of course I'm going to spend money on it again. I
Sure.
bought Grand Theft Auto 3 times already, so uh,
I'm sure you'll buy it again.
I don't know. I think I'm done with that one, especially if it's if we get nostalgic
I think
for
you
it.
can play the current version on there. So
That's
they
what
probably,
Yeah, that's if we want to run it one night, sure. I've got the Xbox One version. I'm not gonna get the Series X version because I 4 times fool me 3 times, fool me 4 times. That's my fault. So, well, this is probably our most serious discussion we've ever had.
it only took talking about nerd stuff to bring
Yeah,
it out.
yeah. Um, Also, just one final thought. Have you done any reading on Project xCloud?
What? No, what is Project X Cloud?
So that is Xbox's mobile streaming.
Oh,
You'll be able to play your games on
okay.
your phone.
Yeah, actually, I have. I
Yeah.
have seen that now that you say that because I have a Droid,
Yes.
an Android phone, which actually Game Pass now allows you to play Game Pass games on your phone if you have Android. If you have Apple, fuck you.
Did you read? Did you see why you can't do it on Apple?
Isn't it have to do with the whole Fortnite thing on the Apple App Store?
Not really. It's a different. This happened around the same time because there was for a short time there was a beta of xCloud for Apple for iPhones, but you could only play one game on it because apparently the Apple's App Store review process is such that if they can't review the game beforehand,
approve it.
they won't approve it. And if you've got basically Apple's point was we can't review every game that's on Game Pass. And I'm assuming that's because the review process takes a while and the games change out. It's kind of a
Yeah.
rotating door, so it's like we can't. If it was here's 100 games you can play in Game Pass and they stayed the same, they probably could. But their point is they can't review all the games and they would have to update it, every time a game changed out.
Gotcha.
So, basically, Microsoft was like, "All right, well, we were kind of throwing you a bone.
See you later.
We were already competitors, and we were kind of throwing you a bone here, giving you, access to one of our services on your platform. But if you're not going to take us up on it, which who knows, they might reconsider. because I think with as much market share as iPhones have,
Yeah.
that's limiting a lot of potential users for that. So I think it'll be revisited. But yeah, right now you cannot play. They even took the beta because I think it was a Halo game that you could play, that you could only play that just in the beta process for Apple. But
I
yeah,
mean, for me,
that's
that
gone now.
doesn't. It's not. There's no appeal there for me. I don't particularly care for playing games on my phone, especially games that are like heavily involved where you got to use both thumbs and whatever. This is
Well,
not my cup of
the
tea.
thing is, you have to play them with a controller.
Oh,
You can't. Yeah, I think I
on
saw.
your phone?
Yeah, you're well, like because you have an Android phone, you can Bluetooth your Xbox One controller to your
That's
phone.
stupid. It's so
So,
stupid.
well, yeah, but I mean, basically, it's like, and you're not actually the game's not actually running on your phone; it's streaming. It's running on your
Uh,
console, and you're just seeing it, and that's the whole appeal of it is you're not downloading the game to your phone, and you're playing it. Not a sale for you, huh? But yeah, so it's interesting. It's a pretty cool thing, but yeah, we'll just see where it goes. That's another thing they're kind of hyping up is the play on your phone.
apparently, that's where most games are played now, is
Yeah.
on cell phones. So, maybe I'm too old for that now. I don't know.
I think it's basically just opened people up that wouldn't necessarily have considered themselves gamers. Having a phone and then playing games on your phone, you're like, oh, maybe I do like playing video games or some, playing little puzzle games or whatever. And it might, well, if you like playing games on your phone, if you buy this, you can play more complicated. It could be. I'm sure somebody that's the
If you like
marketing
this
pitch.
drug, here's more drugs for you. to
Exactly.
try.
Yeah. If you're addicted to this, here we got something that's even better. You're playing Bejeweled Blitz. Well, guess what? we got some shit over here that'll blow your mind, and you can just play it on your phone. So yeah, it's just another way to push the product. So it'll be interesting, but we'll see what happens because it's coming up quick in the pandemic times.
Yeah, next month,
Yeah.
because it's
So-
September 1st.
It definitely. Well, it's 2 months away. It's 2 months away because it's November that this stuff all happens.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not close to October right now at all. It's like that day we did not shoot like 4 episodes of Hip Old Guys in the same day. Those were months and months apart.
Yes, spaced out
Yeah,
by lots of time.
yeah, exactly. As you could tell, I had different facial hair in all of
Exactly.
those.
And we had different outfits. It
Yeah.
was different days.
Yeah, different times, different day. It was really spread out. It was definitely not a period of 2 days. So
Well, this was surprisingly enjoyable.
it was very informative, I think, and really we have to give a shout out to the inspiration for this topic, and that is Corey. He asked us what the difference was between the Series X and the Series S, and we kind of were like, well, one's black and one is white.
That's pretty much all we knew. One was
One
big,
is
and
bigger
was
and
small.
one is smaller, and that was all we had. And I was like, maybe we should look into this. If we're ultimately probably going to spend money on one of these at some point, we should probably at least inform ourselves. So
It was good.
anyway, thank you, Corey.
I hope the listeners, the international audience, get something out of this.
I hope so too. Our one listener in the UK and our one listener in France.
Send your questions and comments to P.O. Box 42, Bland, Virginia.
Wow, he just docked somebody, I think.
It's a P.O. Box. We'll be fine.
Somebody's going to get a lot of hate mail and be like, your podcast sucks. And I don't even have a podcast. What's a podcast?
Well, in that case, see you later.
Yeah, you're not going to sign off how you normally sign off?
No, it's not worth it.
Okay, well, I know, this is
Remember
unprecedented.
promo code GCHAD.
It's true. Go visit Bombas. They do not sponsor the podcast, but they do provide a much-needed service for homeless shelters. Maybe one day they will sponsor the podcast.
And they sponsor Benner's dad. He's an official.
My father is a Bombas user. At least he was a few months ago. So they've got to be good. I mean, my dad will not spend money on something if it's not good.
Untouched Sky. Any question?
And he's gone. Well, all right. Thanks for joining us again for another group chat after dark, and we'll see you next month with. Actually, we know what we're going to talk about next month. You just have to tune in to find out.